Let's go ahead and bring in Steiner Sports CEO, Brandon Steiner.
One of the country's top memorabilia mogul.
I have an unbelievable guest, Brandon Steiner.
Brandon's second to none.
I promised I'd be back, but I got one of my favorite people with us. That's Little Joe. I don't know if you got him on camera, but he is one of my favorite new people because he's here to make sure that this sauce doesn't just get swept underneath the carpet. I got to tell you, man, you know a guy from Brooklyn who made this sauce, you know it's strong. You don't mess with people's... Food in Brooklyn is the food in Brooklyn. It's real. Anyway, if you're a food lover, Sopranos, Blue Bloods, I mean, we got it all going on right now. We have Steve Schirripa.
Good to see you, buddy.
And, you know, but you're a character actor. You've done some great acting, a lot of stuff, but you're also an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, listen, I had a whole nother life before I was an actor. I grew up in Brooklyn, graduated Brooklyn College, moved to Vegas 3 weeks after I graduated.
Why?
Nothing going on. I played basketball in college, was captain my junior, senior year.
And by the way, Brooklyn College, for all those you out there, that's kind of like the Harvard of going to college in the New York City
Yeah,
area.
it's good. It was a great
really
school
good
then,
school.
and it's a great school now. It still is, even better. And it was Division III. I had a nice career, and then nothing going on. I tried out for an Israeli team. They wanted me to work on a kibbutz. I wasn't going to do that, so I went to Vegas instead. And
Vegas,
and
kibbutz.
I was there. Listen, and I was there for over 25 years. My wife was born there. My kids were born there. I was a maitre d' for years. I was a bouncer. I became the entertainment director at the Riviera Hotel. And then I started getting into the acting. So I've been making a living as an actor for 18 years. You know, I was in my early 40s, 40, 41, when I left that world.
Why acting now?
Well, you know, I just started dabbling. I was dealing with a lot of comics. I used to book all the acts, so I was on the other side of the business.
Okay.
I booked a lot of comics. All the comics, you know, are famous. Almost all of them worked for me at one point.
Well, give me a couple examples.
Oh, I mean, we had Richard Belzer, Bill Maher, Rosie O'Donnell, Ellen DeGeneres, Dennis Leary. I mean, I could go on and on.
Was any
David Spade.
Was any really, really funny that before they became funny, you said, I know this person's going to be unbelievable? Or they're all great?
You know, some were really good. I mean,
Yeah.
some better than others. Some, by the time they worked for me, were already established, but not famous.
Yeah.
And then, listen, I gave Ray Romano his first shot in the big room once the show came on the air. I had a comedy club, I had a different side show. I gave Dennis Leary, David Spade, I got George Lopez.
Were you a comedian?
First shot.
Did you do
I
any
was never
comedy?
a comedian, no.
What was the aha moment that flipped you from one side to the other, though?
You know, I was just kind of dabbling, and one of the comics said to me, I'm shooting this little thing. I think it'd be funny if you come out. So I flew to L.A. You know, I was making a good living. To me, it was a hobby. I went out there, never read a script, never did anything, did it, and honestly, I know it sounds like a cliche, but I kind of got the bug right there. Like I went, well, this is great, this is fun. I flew back home.
Because you weren't a kid.
No.
By any stretch.
Well, I started in my 33, 34. I started like that, and I started getting some stuff. I got a King of Queens. I got the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I got this kind of big movie in Toronto that was kind of where I was working with real actors, and I called my wife 2 a.m. in Toronto. She was in Vegas, and I said, I think I could really do this. You know, like that was a moment where I said, you know, I don't know if it's an epiphany, but I think I could do it for real. Like I had just been dabbling, and like I said, I had dough, you know, I made a good living, so I
Because
wasn't
when you're from
struggling.
is it the Brooklyn part that, you know, once you get into the hustle and you understand how to do something, it's very difficult to compete. You know, you're always 3 steps ahead of everybody.
Well, you know,
to some
listen, I
degree.
tried. I mean, listen, I knew there was. Listen, I would get on the plane or get in the car from Vegas, drive. I met a guy. He was like a friend, an agent. I said, listen, if you're not going to help me, tell me now, because I'm going to find someone to help me. You know what I mean?
You're committed.
Absolutely. At that point, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I had 2 kids. Listen, my wife was with me on it. You know, if she would have said, listen, what are you doing, man? You know, blah, blah, blah. I would have, you know, I probably would have stopped, you know. But so I get
I mean, I still think that's pretty courageous.
Oh no! Well, it was.
You have two kids, a family, and you're sliding into something
I just
else.
built a big house.
That's pretty cool.
I built a big house. I'm going. Do we take this leap of faith? But this is what happened. So I come here for a wedding. I come back to New York. I'm living in Vegas. I come back for a wedding, and as an afterthought, I tell this agent, I said, see if you could get me to read for that show. It was like the first season was just finishing. See if you could get me to read for that show. So got me the audition. I read for the role of an FBI agent. I went uptown by myself. First time auditioning in New York, because everything I did was in Vegas and
Were you nervous?
LA. Not really nervous, but a little bit, a little concerned. I was green. I was green.
You
I
know
had
what to
worked.
expect?
I had worked. I had real stuff. It wasn't make believe. I had a resume, and she actually said, "What is this?" And I explained. 2 lines here, 3 lines there. I was dabbling, and she said, "Well, if I could get you in front of David Chase, would you come back?" I didn't even know who David Chase was. I was so green that if I didn't know better, I would have been more nervous. And but I had work, like I said. I knew, I knew what was happening. And they called me a week later. I went back. I had gone back to Vegas, and they called and said, "We want you to come in, Tuesday, whatever." And I said, I told my wife, "I'm not going to go. It's going to cost me $500-600 to go back there." She said, and she was the one that said, "Go. You're not happy unless you're doing this, go." And she gave me that push. I went in, did well. They called me the next morning.
And that was for?
Sopranos. And then my agent told me not to take it. He said, they're not going to pay your way. They're only going to pay your scale. And I said, well, I'm going to take a shot. And it cost me $24,000 to make $22,000. I had to fly myself here.
You made no money the first year of Sopranos.
No money.
So how many years were you committed to that? Just 1 year?
I just didn't know. I mean, I was hoping for the best, hoping that they would give me a contract. I mean, you're at their mercy.
You know where you were going to
what
fit into the
happened
show.
was I auditioned. The season's over. Had a pretty good year, 6 episodes. And the following year, I actually got another job. And we went to the Sopranos and said, listen, I'm going to take this job. And David Chase called me. It was a Nick Totoro pilot. You know Nick Totoro. Good guy. And David Chase calls me. I'm in my office. I never told the Sopranos I had a real job, and I never told my job that I was acting. I was playing, and my secretary, I would tell her, listen, whoever's looking for me, I just left. I was gone for 3 days at a clip. That shows you how good a job I was doing. I mean, I had the phone. It was mostly phone stuff she was handling. We're booking acts. I mean, you could
You're
do
having
it.
fun on that set?
Yeah. So David Chase calls me. He says, listen, not for nothing, but you got the chance to be on the greatest show in TV history. Nothing against Nick Totoro. We want you, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they moved me and my family back here, and we came back here in 2000. I hadn't really been back that often in the 20 years or so. And that's the story.
So they offer you a real contract.
They offered me then a contract. They paid my way out. It was real money, blah, blah, blah. And then it got better as the years went on, and I hung around. But, I seriously, I kept the house in Vegas, and the first thing I did was pay it off because you never knew when they were going to kill you. So I didn't.
Literally.
I didn't. I did
Well,
not.
I mean, on the show.
Brandon, I did not buy a place
Were
here.
you afraid you were going to get whacked
Sure,
on that show?
everyone
You
was.
get whacked
Everyone,
anytime.
even Jim Gandolfini at times would go, "They're going to kill me." I mean, even he was. We were all afraid. I mean, this was because not only obviously you're out of work, there's no more paycheck.
Yeah.
Now you're leaving this incredible show, which incredible following, great friends. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And some guys got killed early on. They never got to make the money and blah, blah, blah. That was unfortunate, but that's just how it went. There's luck involved and whatever,
It's always a woman, though, that kind of pushes you over the edge.
Well, she was. My
amazing?
wife's tough. I mean, she's good. She wasn't hung up. Like I said, we had a nice life. House on an acre of land in Vegas, which the cost of living is a lot cheaper, obviously, but it was all good. She could have said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And it would have been because there was friends of mine going, "What are you doing? You're going to leave this? You're going to quit this?" But I opened up an agency. I talked my boss into letting me be a consultant. I said, I could do this by phone, literally out the door. So I still had that income.
Making some money on the side.
Making money on the side. I opened up an agency, got a few comedy clubs, a few casinos. I had a guy working with me, so that dough was coming in. Then I also realized, The Sopranos at the beginning, I wasn't making a lot of money, so I said, you know what else could we do here? So I started doing appearances, and I'm capable of hosting stuff. I became Jay Leno. I was a correspondent for him.
That was fun.
6 years, 40-something episodes. Then the books. I wrote 6 books.
Well, before we get to the books and the sauce too, by the way.
But I knew was
you were in hustle mode though.
This ain't lasting forever. Yeah. Stevie Van Zandt used to call me King of the Parlay. I was, without compromising my soul, I was gonna.
You were King of the Parlay. How about him?
Yeah, I know, of course.
I mean, look who's calling the Kettle Black there. But I mean,
but exactly.
He has a million things going himself.
That's correct. But he used to say that King of the Parlay. I knew it wasn't gonna last forever.
How much fun was that set? Because a lot of crazies.
Well, yeah, but it also was, listen, it was like going to work, no lie, with your best friends every day. We were very close-knit group. We hung out together, which is pretty unheard of. Usually you're on a show, everyone gets along. Hey, man, good to see you. We tell you our lines. At the end of the day, you go your way, I go my way. And that's just how it is, especially as you get older. Here we were, guys were in their 30s. I was in my early 40s. You had Schirripa a little older, and there was, it was like, this is how I describe it to people. It was like playing for the Yankees. The first time I lived here, I was broke. I grew up on welfare, had no money, food stamps, the whole shebang. When I came back 20 years later, on this show, it was like being a Yankee. We would walk into a restaurant, people are picking up your checks, and they gasp when 6 of us would walk in. And I mean, everyone was watching the show. It was the hottest thing ever. You're working with your friends.
How great was that?
Whether David Chase did it knowingly or subconsciously, he put this puzzle together of guys pretty much, most of the guys were from New York or New Jersey. Most
neighborhood,
most Italian Americans, mostly neighborhood kind of guys, kind of grew up the same way.
I don't think there was a lot of acting.
No,
I mean, Paulie Walnut said, "He goes, I'm in character."
Paulie, no, I know you've met Paulie, but that everybody else was.
I mean, there's some good actors.
I mean, you've got that Dominic is nothing like that. Jim was nothing like that. Michael Imperioli. Tony is. I'll tell you a funny story about Tony Schirripa. Yeah. There was an episode where they were trying to find out. They were going to go to Paulie Walnut's apartment, and they were saying, "What does Paulie's apartment look like?" And everybody they have a big meeting and a set design. They're going, "What would Paulie's apartment look like?" And somebody said, "Wait a minute, the guy is the guy. Let's go see what his apartment looks like." And that's what they replicated.
There's no question. I mean, you're right.
He lives in Shore Road. He lives in a little 2-bedroom at Shore Road.
Probably near a pizza parlor.
Exactly. He delivers. He delivers, gets his food delivered. He's old school. He buys the bread in the same place. He buys the mozzarella in the same place,
I got to ask you one more thing before we go on to the next thing, which is Gandolfini. We lost him too quickly, too early, too young. I found him as a very generous, much different than what you would think.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, everyone thought he was Tony Soprano, and he was a guy to never go on a talk show. He didn't want to do any of that. And I said, why don't you go pick one? Oprah at the time, Letterman, pick one show, and go and show them the real you. I said, that way you shut all that out. I mean, he was a Birkenstock-wearing guy. He was a college graduate. He loved music, very generous. Nothing like that.
He called me up one day. And, we needed to put the whole cast together. We were rolling with you guys. You guys were great, but we needed him. Yeah. And he calls me up. He says, I know you want me to do this. Why should I do this? I said, well, he goes, meet me for dinner tonight. So we go to Tribeca Grill.
Yeah.
For dinner with him. It was in the middle of, and
he lived right over there.
And for about a half hour, I'm already pissing my pants because he's in character. He's busting my chops. And then about 30 minutes in, he goes, look, I don't want to do this. But I don't want to disappoint the rest of the cast. I don't want them to be able to make the money. I know that money means a lot to them. So I'm going to basically do whatever you need me to do as long as the other guys are taken care of the right way. Now, I've only had one or two other people in 30 years at Steiner say that and actually do that. One of them was with Derek Jeter. When we do the team signings, he'd say, look, I'll do the right thing.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Make the money.
This is what else he did. We did a lot of appearances. We were one of the few shows that to do all these casinos. We did tons. Jim would come. Don't get me wrong. He got paid a lot of money. He didn't want to do them. He did them for there was 7 or 8 of us going out to do them. He did them for us. Also, when he had that big contract dispute, he called each one of us into his trailer and gave us $33,333 apiece. 16 people. All the regulars, from Lorraine to Edie to me to Michael,
Really?
gave us a check for $33,000. And this is 2004. You know, that's like buying everybody an SUV at the time. There's a lot of people made
why
a lot
did he do
more
that?
money. You know, he said, thanks for sticking by me. He was in a bad contract dispute, and thanks for sticking by me. Another time, I'm in Vegas with him. There's a Vegas slot machine, and they paying me good money to cut the ribbon. And then Jim came on, and they hired Jim. So it was me and Jim in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. That night, we had to shake hands, you know, and the buyers, whatever. And he wasn't that into it. And I would say, Jim, this is Brandon, you know, and you know, blah, blah, blah. And the next morning at breakfast, you know, we have the same business agent, and he said, you know, you did all the work last night. Give him $10,000. And I said, no, I got paid. I'm fine. I'll give him $10,000. It was like saying, you know, buy him a beer, you know, get him a soda, and you know,
He's a very generous guy.
like that, you know,
He's such a good
and
guy.
that's the truth. Yeah, but so that was the kind of stuff, and like I said, he didn't want to do he wasn't that comfortable. Me, I'm fine with that stuff. Some guys are. He wasn't that comfortable, you know.
We miss him. The
For
sauce.
sure.
Now, I know you got a couple books. By the way, the parenting book,
It's a good book.
good book. If you got some kids, I highly recommend it because, hey, listen, the high level of common sense. I don't think there was a lot of research done in that book. It's like it was just a lot of
This is
smart,
the way I think, kids.
a lot of smartsmanship.
Listen
right?
to me. People are afraid to say no to their kids. They think if you say no to your teenage daughter, she's going to wind up being a stripper. It's okay to say no. Say no. They don't have to get everything at every moment, and there's just common sense involved. I got 2 beautiful daughters. They're good kids.
You still,
Knock on wood.
you can still get that book.
Yeah. It's called
Big
Daddy
Rules,
Big
right?
Daddy's Rules.
But how about the Goomba Book of
well,
Love?
the
or the Goomba?
the first book was
Yeah. Which is the best one of all the Goomba books?
Goomba's Guide to Life. It was a New York Times bestseller. Nobody ever thought it would be. It was a New York Times bestseller. It was a great run. Season 4 of The Sopranos, we got 500-600 people at every bookstore. I'm doing 2 a day at times. You know,
You did well with that book
This
there.
is very well, and this is things that were just when things are luck and lined up. My storyline got bigger. The book came out. I was number 4 on Amazon. Did the Tonight Show, the Today Show back to back. Imus at the time sold a lot of books, had me on twice. Imus at one point, that's where you went for everything was aligned, and the book was a huge hit. And then
You were ready.
You know, it was all good. It was good. It was a lot of fun. You
Why
know?
the sauce?
You know, I had a
what's up
friend
with-
of
what's
mine.
up
My
with-
mother passed
and how
away.
good is this sauce?
See, now my mother was Jewish, married, raised by Italians, adopted. The sauce was fantastic. I'll back it. Before we went into business, I never tasted a sauce out of a jar. Okay, so my mother passed away. My partner said, "Let's do something to kind of honor your mother." We got a recipe. We made it a little healthier. Yeah. It's gluten free. It's vegan, non-GMO, no sugar added. We're in.
Where do you get this? Where can I buy it? If I want to buy some.
Well, first of all, it's in Whole Foods, Stop and Shop, ShopRite, out west, Sprouts, all over the country. We're in about 3,500 stores. Amazon, UncleStevesNY.com.
So you're doing well with this sauce.
We're doing well with the sauce. It grew, and it grew very quickly. We're in business about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but we have 3 kinds. We have marinara, tomato, basil, arrabbiata. We have a pizza sauce we're working on, and we'll see what happens. You
Think
know,
about maybe doing a little pasta or a little.
yeah, absolutely. Pasta or vodka sauce. We're in Fresh Direct. we're all over the place, and it's been going well. And listen, if you didn't know it came out of a jar, you would not know.
It's that good.
I'm telling you. I
cannot wait to try this.
The day I sent it to Robin, I sent
Rich Modell's wife.
I sent
yeah.
Rich Modell's wife. Then she said, "We just had some." I said, "I'll send you more." No, it's really good, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a whole different thing. Food shows and this and that. And like I said, I also don't want to. There's a lot of. It's a good product, a really good product, and I really stand behind it. I'm not just selling crap to sell crap. I've done okay. You know what I mean? I don't have to do this.
This is kind of a little bit of a tribute to your
absolutely,
neighbor, your mom,
absolutely.
right?
And it's
a little bit of who you
like
are.
I said, I don't have to do it. It's
Yeah.
not like, man, this guy's grasping at straws as
yeah.
people do,
Yeah.
selling silly things.
You're a busy guy, though, man. First of all, thank you for coming up and hanging. I
Oh,
always
it's
love
my
seeing you.
pleasure.
But
You've been a good guy. I call you. You did me a million favors, and
that's always. You're just a lovable guy. But you're busy. But I never see the busyness on you. I don't feel that when I'm with you. When I see you at a Yankee game or whatever, I don't feel that. But you got shows. You got this. You got that.
And
how do you balance it all?
Well, I try to help out. There's a handful of charities that I help out.
Your favorite?
This ALS with the Empire, Phil Cuzzy. He throws one that's all neighborhood guys. Every year he has a speaker. He's had Joe Torre. He's had Goose Gossage, Tony La Russa, 600 guys. Every dollar, and I'm kid you not, goes to where it's supposed to.
Wow,
so I do that
cool.
one.
That's cool.
There was Garden of Dreams with
Yep.
Barry Watkins.
Yeah.
I've hosted
Barry does a
that.
nice job.
Great
Yep.
job.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
hosted that 2 years in a row with all the comics, Seinfeld and Chris Rock and those guys.
Take a couple questions. We'll knock down some questions. Anything for Steve Schirripa here? Any Soprano fans out there, or just entrepreneurial ideas? Because I love the way you've mixed it up throughout. This has not been a straight line for you. I love that.
No, absolutely
Love
not.
that.
We're getting a lot asking, what about signed bottles? Signed bottles of the sauce.
Now, do you go to the supermarket to sign something?
Yeah, we've done that.
There we go.
I'll have to
But
sign
whatever they want, I mean, we could get you whatever. We
Yeah,
got more in the car.
We're gonna sign one. We're gonna give one away also. By
Yeah,
the way,
we
whoever
got the-
likes and shares this the most. And by the way, if you're out there, you've tried this sauce. I need to hear from you. I want feedback.
We got more
if
in the
you've
car.
eaten this
huh?
sauce, I want to hear from you and tell me why you like this sauce and if this matches up to your liking. And we're gonna sign a couple of these. And we'll actually give them away for whoever likes and shares it. A couple other questions.
Yeah, Mike, want to know which episode or scene was your favorite? Still think all of them are phenomenal.
What, Sopranos?
Yeah.
I gotta like everybody else, the Pine Barrens. You know what I mean? That was, we shot that upstate. That turned out it wasn't supposed to snow. That's another thing. Stars were aligned. I think that one. I also like the one where me and Tony Soprano had a fight up at the lake house. Yeah. We were up there for 2 weeks. It was just the four of us, and that was something.
Fun.
It was a lot of fun, to hang. We were up there. It was like on a camping trip, but it was a lot of fun. And I tell you, the fight, we wind up not redoing, but doing it 6 months later on the set in Silver Cup because Jim's knees weren't good, and they rebuilt the entire set, $250,000. You thought you were back in the cabin. It was really something. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite actor on that show you loved working with besides Tony? I mean,
Listen, I liked all of them, but I worked with, when I first started, I worked with Dominic Chianese a lot, Uncle Junior.
Yeah.
That whole first season, I took care of him for a couple seasons.
That's a Hall of Famer.
The guy's the best and the nicest man ever.
He's a Hall of Famer.
And I was still a little green, and he was patient, and we would talk between takes, and I have a soft spot in my heart for Dominic.
That's cool.
We're getting a lot of comments of people saying that they had the sauce. So Max said he had his girlfriend use the sauce. It was delicious. Every bite was like the first full flavor.
Wow.
Telling you.
Pretty good enjoyment.
Strong.
You throw the jar away, and you will not know. I'm telling you. It's
Couple Brooklyn questions.
All right.
Was there a hangout spot that you loved back when you were a kid that you?
Well, I grew up in Bensonhurst, right? So we hung out on Bath Avenue, which was a roughed up place.
Over where the buses were, or
No, down, more towards Dyker Park.
Okay.
Down that way.
Yeah.
Played ball, worked at Dyker Park. I worked as a parkie, ran the leagues there. I actually coached Chris Mullen in the summer league. So we played in the summer leagues there. I would play 5 nights a week. I was a basketball freak. I played in college.
You were a 4 or a 3, or you could shoot it? You could score it?
Yeah, I
What?
could shoot. I was a slow white guard, but I started most of my year,
Not at
my
Lafayette,
career.
though.
No, Lafayette. I played my JV year. I was the last guy cut my junior year, and I got to be honest, I got screwed. I thought Gil Freshman screwed me. He was the coach, and
It's hard. Those teams are stocked with talent.
but they wound up winning the city championship my senior year. I didn't try out there. Then I went to John Jay College. I made the JV, and then I got better as I got older.
Okay.
I really did, and I had a nice career.
What's your
in
favorite
school.
food spot in Brooklyn? Is there one? Snack?
The best pizza in the world to me is Spumoni Garden. I mean, that's,
Exactly.
That's the number
Don't
one
even
spot.
don't be confused if you're out there and you think you have a good pizza
Yeah.
spot.
This
You're
is the best.
confused. You're lost.
So you go
find
there.
your way to Brooklyn.
You go there. I also
Spumoni
like,
Gardens.
I also like the restaurant. Lenny runs the restaurant,
Yeah.
so I go
Great.
there.
Yeah.
I always hit. I'll hit Nathan's. I like Mill Basin Deli.
All right, Milbesi, I gotta try that.
Chadwick's, good restaurant, Bay Ridge. I still go. When I go to Brooklyn, I'm going to eat. Stop by Faicos, get a couple mozzarellas, supersod, bring them home, some provolone.
And how about pastries? Where's your pastry place?
I have Veneros, 11th and 1st.
Yeah, you
Great
can't-
spot,
I
great
mean,
spot.
if you go to New York City, don't stop at Viniero's. Obviously,
That's 100. It's
yeah.
going to be 125 years.
yeah.
Sinatra used
We
to
always
get the
stop
pastries
off there for a couple cannolis and a little
Absolutely.
Napoleon, because even my wife's always watching, but not when it comes to the.
And here, I mean, in the city alone, I mean, I love Tribeca Grill. I go all the time. There's certain spots.
a
that
little
I like.
sports though for a minute, because I know you're a big sports fan.
I'm a big Knick and Yankee fan.
Okay,
I'm not a football guy.
well, let's talk Yankees for a minute,
All right.
because I know you're at a lot of games. How excited are you? And will this be a year that you have a lot of dates marked down on your calendar? or-
I'm excited, but there's a lot of pressure on these two cats. I mean, a lot of pressure. 400 strikeouts. They can't be following each other. Boone's got his work cut out for him. I think the best player, Sanchez. I'm a Sanchez fan.
Me too.
Not a great defensive player. This guy's solid.
He was sitting right here. He lost some weight. He got a little thinner. He's definitely working on the defensive end. I think he's going to be a lot better this year.
solid.
Talk to me
solid.
about the Knicks. I know you're a big Madison Square Garden fan.
Yes.
Because
I'm still a fan, so I'm not going to knock the
you
Knicks
grew
ever.
up in Brooklyn. Going to
I'm
the
not
Garden
gonna-
is almost like going to heaven.
Listen,
right?
I had the
Kinda.
seats, student union. I took my girlfriend, $6 each. $6.
And you
I
look for a
sat at
discount on the
at
six.
the very top. So when I came back
Yeah,
to New
oh.
York and I was doing the show, they've been very good to me.
Yeah.
I do stuff for them, obviously.
The Garden is
The
there's
Garden,
nothing
you're
like it.
sitting courtside, you're having dinner before the game. You know what it's like.
Well, tell me
My
about the Knicks,
family
though.
loves
What's
it.
the vibe there now?
Porzingis is
Optimistic?
great.
Are you
I
optimistic?
love Cantor. I love Cantor.
Me too.
I love Cantor. I think Hardaway, I wasn't crazy about him coming back, but he's a good player.
He's gotten better.
Solid player. He absolutely has. Porzingis is great. We still need a little help. This Frank is on the fence there. He's still young. But there's certainly the core. I mean, listen, they were unwatchable the last 3 years.
They're
or
playing
whatever it
hard.
was. They're playing hard.
They're
They're
young.
playing well. Hornacek's getting them to play hard, which is important. And they're going to make some changes, I know. I hope we don't lose Cantor.
No, I don't want to lose Cantor.
He's the first guy to grab an offensive rebound in years for the Knicks.
He's all.
But I'm a Knicks fan. People, you go to the Garden. I've been there numerous opening nights, and they boo. I mean, if you're a real fan, you're
why would
booing.
you do that?
They're more excited about getting T-shirts, some of them,
Yeah,
than watching the game.
I hate
But
that
I'll tell you
T-shirt
this,
thing.
though. No matter what the record is, they are sold out, and the fans are into it no matter what. It's a game that means nothing, and that's something.
It's an amazing franchise when you think about how loyal, but it just shows this town. A lot gets talked about football and Yankees, but this is a very serious basketball town. You hear that on the train, cabbies.
I
wherever
hear
you
it
go.
everywhere.
You see that move. They're still talking about
see
Starks' dunk. For
They
God's
see,
sakes. I
they
mean,
see me.
it's
They
crazy.
know I go to the games. People are asking me constantly. So what's up? What's up with those Knicks? What's up with your team? Listen,
you're almost a
I'm
little bit of a
fan.
spokesman.
I'm a fan. I'm a
Yeah.
fan. I'll be a fan. I'm not these guys.
Poor Spike.
You
I
get
just
a
want
lot
to
of-
see Spike smile, be happy.
Spike is like the mascot. He's like the mascot.
I need to see him
Is
happy.
he ever going to be happy?
I want to see it. I see him at the Yankee games all the time.
Yeah, he's a Yankee
big
fan.
Yankee guy. Yeah. I'm a big Spike fan. So you seem very happy. Life's good. Something we should now look for. Something else you want to
Well,
do.
listen, I joined Blue Bloods.
And you've had a good run on there.
This is my third season. I love the show. Tom Selleck. I work with Bridget Moynihan a lot. Donnie Wahlberg. It's a great cast. Well-written show. I worked last night. I had a great episode. I love doing it. We shoot on the streets of New York and in Greenpoint is the studio. And I play a detective. Anything but a mob guy. You know, I'm tired of that. I play a New York guy. Enough with the... How many times could you go...
I see you driving after that police. You seem comfortable driving that.
I'll break your head or break your head. So the mob thing is enough already.
Yeah.
And, you know, people come up to you, think you're a mob guy. I'm a college graduate. I'm just an actor. I'm not into that. I don't particularly care about it or for it, that world at all. And you'll get some of those guys. They come up to, hey, you know, my nephew's in Rikers. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do about that? You know what I mean? I can't help you, you know. And they think that's a conversation starter, you know. So the reason I moved out of Little Italy, I lived there the first few years of the show. I had my dirty laundry, and I was going down the block to Kenmare Street, and a guy stopped me who was a good guy. Hey, Steve, you know I love the show, but anybody who ever killed someone knows that's not how you do it. I went, okay, listen, I got to get going.
Well, good luck with the sauce.
Thank you. UncleStevesNY.com. And can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Of all the memorabilia that's come through here, I got some stuff. You know that. I got little stuff. I'm not a big collector, but stuff that I've just come across. What is not necessarily the most valuable, the most unique?
I'm an extremely quirky guy when it comes to this. So I'm not a traditional collector. I love, like, we were shooting an episode with Mariano, and he didn't have any collectibles to show on the interview. We were doing for Yes Network, and he takes out a box, carves out what was his glove as a kid out of a box, and just the humbleness of that moment. Every now and then we got something unusual from Derek that by accident when we got his socks.
So you don't like your usual, you know, the sign the picture. You like things
I'm
that
a quirky. I like the picture when I.
Well, you're very creative.
I created the picture.
Well, you're also very creative, like with the Don Larson thing that I got for somebody. You know, he's, you know, that kind of stuff.
I'm a collectible creator, so I know that's a little odd. You know, there's the actual, you know, what Babe Ruth wore, and then there's replicating it, and then. You know, almost kind of messing around with it so that it's replicable.
I told you I got a Mrs. Babe Ruth autograph.
So I love the Mrs. Babe Ruth autograph, which is a good autograph to have. I like stuff like that. I like the Joe DiMaggio diaries where he was keeping track of his expenses for the last 2 years he was alive. I like Mariano's final pitch ball. Mariano, one day I was over the dugout and he has the ball. I think he's throwing me the ball after his save, and all of a sudden he kind of fakes me out. Looks like he's going to throw it to me and then throws it to one of the kids, which was kind of a good thing. But next day I said, Mo, you want to throw balls in the crowd, all good. Do not throw that final pitch again. And this is why. I'm going to sell those. So he would save all the save balls. Then at the end of the year, he'd bring up like 30, 40, 50 balls. And he'd number them all and sign them. And I love those balls because I actually got him to stop throwing the ball into the crowd. And we actually had them every year. And I kept a few.
That you know of. I know some guys sign more than others. Like Bill Russell's a tough autograph.
Lightened up a lot at the end.
But anybody not sign at all that you're aware of? There's nothing out there?
Well, there's a couple guys out there that are very, very, you know, they're very nimble and they don't want to sign a lot. And one of them, surprisingly enough, is Michael Jordan. You know, as much as you see this and that, is expensive, and he really limits how much he's going to sign. Another guy that obviously he's passed away, was Wilt Chamberlain. Very hard to get his autograph. Bill, for the longest time.
They're kind of nasty, Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt could be a little tough.
Tough.
If you're a woman and you're nice looking, you're a lot easier to get to.
Sure.
But Wilt, not that easy to work with. But, one of the things I learned from Wilt and talking to one of his friends is, when you're 7 foot something, and everywhere you go, you stand out.
Yeah.
And you're kind of looked at.
There's no hiding, so and they insult
It's
you.
a little difficult.
What I do have is there was a comic. I used to book a lot of comics. Yeah. So there's this comic named Bobby Kosar. He's on the Lower East Side. I want to say what was the year of the Ali Frazier, the first fight?
75 or 73?
Okay.
We'll look it up.
All right. So he's on the Lower East Side. It's cardboard poster. They're like rectangular cardboard. Guy selling the cardboard, not the poster. He's going, this is good cardboard. And he's ripping it he buys the whole lot of it for $700, like about 700 of these, and it says Muhammad Ali, no, Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali, and I think they had to redo them all, and I helped him get Ali to sign with Ali's guy. He paid Ali X amount of dollars, and then Frazier came to the Riviera. I had them, and I got him to sign, which was not easy.
Really nice?
He signed 20, and I had to give him one. And he signed near his legs. He was going, I had the best legs in boxing. That's what I understood that he
Frazier
said.
was a little complicated.
Yeah.
But do you still have
I have
those?
one left. I have one left signed and like 2 or 3 not signed.
Yeah, I love my time with
Guy
Ali
was
and
ripping. The guy was ripping it on the Lower East Side. That's complete a happy
All
accident.
the fight posters really go for good money now because there's that there's nothing like a fight fan.
Yeah.
And I had Ali for about 5 years exclusively, and,
And what
you
you had to pay who? Gene Kilroy, Bundy. 85 people got the money
yeah.
before Ali got it.
He got paid pretty well.
At the end.
we made him some good money. This was in like 99, 2000.
He
2001.
wasn't when I had my
So-
guy do it. He wasn't sick.
Yeah, I mean,
He
and
was
also if you
alright.
caught Ali, like we'd be at the Super Show, and I'd see Muhammad, he'd go give me these little stack of papers he would pre-sign, and those go for a lot of money too. I kept maybe 5 or 10 of them in my house, and they're a little more of the Muslim and all that stuff. I mean, it's such a quirky guy. And then if Muhammad liked you, he would start drawing stuff for you, and those are the really valuable things.
You have a
on
lot
the
of that.
tablecloth. I've
Yeah.
got a few things, a couple tablecloths.
Is
where
there anything that you would never sell? Well, everything's
I've been
for sale.
thinking about that with my wife.
This is a
where
good interview.
I'm
interviewing
I've
him.
been thinking about that.
This is what your fans want to know.
I love when you did the weather, by the way, and you get up on the news. You
Yeah.
did the weather. Open up the window.
Yeah, you wanna know the
moron.
weather?
I love that. That was like one of my favorites. Steve
Open the
Schirripa.
window.
Yeah, open the window.
So
See the
anything you
weather.
would never sell?
I have Mariano's cleats from his last game at Yankee Stadium, and I was with him that day, and we got into a crazy fight that day. We did a luncheon at ESPN. I was emceeing with interviewing him, and it was so emotional that day. And we got into a big fight about I don't even know about what, but with him it's always an emotional roller coaster. And I have the cleats from his last game, the last pitch at Yankee Stadium ever, and I love that that item. And I love something I got signed from him on that last day of his career, which is an emotional thing. He's one of my favorite players. That's one thing. There's another thing that's very precious to me. I know you're not a big hockey fan necessarily, but when this all got started, I was sitting on a train. My mom had just passed, and I was looking at the back page, and I'm like, I got to get off this train. I just got to go. That's my why. I got to get off this damn train. The only thing I've caught was my breath. I'd missed the train. I'd be on a train station waiting, and I wanted to get a new car. And Messier had this grin on his face that was like I can remember like it was yesterday. And I'm like, I think I could replicate this picture and sell it to 17,500 people. I don't know if I could do anything more, but I know everybody in the Garden would want one of these photos where Mark signed and says, we did it. Because I was one of those guys at the Garden game after game, the frustration, all the 54 years of waiting. And that was an aha moment. And so one of the first things I had Mark sign when we signed him as one of our first collectible clients was Mark Messier. I had him sign, to Brandon, we did it.
Did you
Just to remind me of that idea
So
and how
that's
this all
one
got
of those.
started.
And did you sell 17.5?
Oh yeah. Mark was one of the great partners I've ever had, and Mark was one of those guys. You'd ship him a box of stuff in Detroit, and he'd call you back. He'd give you the tracking number,
Oh, so
make sure it was taped right.
there's not
we
that
never met
many.
anybody like Mark.
Yeah, there's not many
No,
like
there's
that.
nobody like that guy. Trust me. He'd help you to the car, and listen, and don't get me wrong, he was a mega star, and we had to treat him that way too. But he also was so grounded, and he also included us in everything.
And I've also,
very
I
valuable.
bet, as I have seen, you saw guys started out, they were as humble as can be, and then they
He's
don't
still a
even want.
normal-
I'm just saying, but not him. I'm not saying I know Mark and I like Mark. I'm saying, but then you see a guy like I did was a comic. They were begging me for work, and then suddenly you say he barely says hello to you. You know what I mean? A guy, you see that all the time.
Yeah, you see it all the time. Not with me. I mean, I try to be the same person. I'll tell you nothing.
No, but I'm sure guys that guys begged you, please, Brandon.
Yeah.
Give me,
all of a sudden,
and
they
then
got amnesia.
oh, there's a lot of
There's
that.
a lot of loyalty with players like Lawrence Taylor, one of my first players. A lot of the guys I started with, very loyal. But I'll tell you one more thing that's very valuable. Like, I was a big George Steinbrenner fan. Huge. Back even from my college days, he came up to my school and spoke, explained that this sports thing's a business. This is back in '77.
Wow.
So I used to go to his office with a guy named Billy Rose, the sporting club. I was his general manager, and we'd always go to George's box. And I would sit at George's desk and work for half the game. He'd come in, Steiner, you watch the game. He was so intense, George, about the game. But I was always like, George, I got to make money. And I just loved George even growing up. Even the ups and downs, George was So his office, when we took the stadium down, I went to the Yankees.
Did you get the glove?
Very grateful.
The glove chair?
We sold the glove. The glove got put in storage. We sold the glove chair that was in the restaurant. But I wanted his desk and his seats, but I got his carpet, the blue carpet with the big NY.
Wow.
So I have that. I'm still working on trying to get the desk and the chairs because he had the 3 or 4 chairs and then the one big one. Never anything on his desk. And I just love working there and the interaction with George. And listen, he's still really the guy behind him and Randy Levine giving me the Yankee Steiner, which is a big, George is still around at that point. To give me the go ahead on that was a huge game changer for Steiner.
There was
that was cool.
ALS, the Lou Gehrig, when they do the speech. So Gandolfini, they asked him to do the speech. They had celebrities and people all over the country, and they asked him to do it. So he invited a bunch of us to go. So we were up in a box up there, and Jim comes down, and he goes, Steinbrenner wants to meet us. Come on. And there was about 5 of us. And we go down and sit in the box, and I'm sitting with him, and we're talking, and I asked him about Seinfeld, if he was flattered or insulted, and he said he liked it, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he asked us to throw out the first pitch.
Which is not common.
2002, 5 of us. Jamie Lynn Sigler sang the national anthem. 5 of us, me, Lorraine Bracco, John Ventimiglia, Paulie Walnuts, and Jim. And we threw out the first pitch. He gave us his box for the day. I had my kids come. They were in Vegas at the time. My wife, my kids.
That's a big deal.
Food. He had a bar, food. We had the big box, his box, the chair. That's why I asked you about the chair, because I was up there. And we had a ball. We just had a ball. And I'm the only guy that didn't bounce it. Everybody else bounced it.
They did.
I've thrown out 3 first pitches, Chicago and Detroit.
Were you a little nervous on the Yankee one?
Of course, you're going to bounce it. They're going to boo you. They don't care. If you're
never
the
gonna
Pope,
forget it.
If you're the Pope, they will boo you.
Oh, you can't bounce it.
You
cannot
can't bounce it.
You can't bounce it. But you got to warm up. Did you warm up a little beforehand?
I did not in Chicago. I did in Detroit.
Well, that's cool.
All
right. Well, that's great. Hey, by the way, pick up this sauce. The code for his website is right underneath here. We're going to be giving away a couple signed bottles right afterwards. Like and share it. Steve Schirripa, thank you.
Great,
man.
Talk
to you
great.
all day.
Great.
Love you. See you at the ballpark.
I certainly
Love
will.
you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're coming right back on Thursday. Got a great surprise guest for you. Keep an eye out for your notifications. Love you. Like, share. Love to hear your feedback. Have you really tried this sauce, honestly? If you have, I want to hear about it. Why and would you put it on? And if you've done something creative with this sauce, I want to hear about it as well. There could be some prizes in store if you've done something creative with this sauce. If you got a good pasta recipe, whatever it is. Until next time, we'll see you later. For Steve Schirripa, myself, have a great day.